We have another story to report on today that highlights the problem of militarized police in America. A woman named Kim Polk in Wisconsin got into a dispute with her neighbor. Apparently, the man's dog crapped on her lawn, and then she asked the man to remove it, and he responded by throwing it in a pile of leaves that she was raking and then threatening their dog with a bow and arrow. Nice guy, seems like. So after hearing about the incident, Polk's husband went to confront the neighbor, and then the neighbor again pulled a weapon. I think this time it was a machete, and threatened him. And then I think the daughter called the cops, and the Polks, when the cops got there, get this, they showed up in like it's World War III. They had a giant armored vehicle. Everybody's in full SWAT gear. Remember, when they called the cops, you know what they said, right? There was a dispute over the dog pooping on the lawn. And the cops were like, okay, goodness, get the armored vehicle. We need to go right now. Okay, that's what you need the armored vehicle for? Now, again, there was a point when the guy had a machete and he was like talking loose, let's say, to the Polks and saying, you know, get out of here. I'm not in the mood for this, yada, yada. But an armored vehicle showed up with a SWAT team because of a dog poop argument. So when the cops showed up, the Polk's small dog ran outside on the lawn. Now, apparently the dog ran out, and then it wasn't like in an attack-like motion. The dog ran out and then saw the cops and just turned around and started running back in. So what did the police do? Naturally, they took out a gun and shot and killed the dog. Okay. The level to which this story is frustrating, I can't adequately explain it in words. Because if there's some sort of a dispute and you feel like you need the cops, and then they show up and do this, people are going to start thinking, well, why the fuck would I even call the cops? I'll deal with the crazy person with the machete myself. Because when the cops get there, you just fucking made it worse. You killed their dog, slapstick. They're the people that called you. They're the ones that called you. Okay, this is the problem with the militarized police in America. The problem is they're out of fucking control. I mean, we did a story recently about they showed up with another armored vehicle with like 20 officers or something in full SWAT gear to arrest a senior citizen because he had some stuff on his lawn. That was a recent story that we did. And we're getting these stories every single week of unnecessary force, unnecessary power, flexing unnecessary muscle at ridiculous times. The whole job of the police, it's supposed to be to protect and serve, not to set up this us versus them mentality and this feeling that there's an invading army and they're it. This is what they don't understand. Whatever happened to the old school way of policing? The idea that there's one cop who goes out there, he walks around the streets, he says hi to Miss Jenkins, says hi to Bob, who owns the hardware store. This is what cops are supposed to do. Cops are not supposed to be a paramilitary organization. But that's what they've turned into. You have to get rid of these armored vehicles. Look, they're not necessary. They're not necessary. I understand even when there's violence on the streets in the U.S., and there is violence in some places on the streets in the U.S., we have a lot of gun violence, right? But to take that and raise the stakes further, and to the point where you have fucking tear gas, you have not only armored vehicles, but you have things that are literally from the military and literally from the Pentagon, stuff that is specifically made for war that they start giving to the police departments. You're not fighting fire with fire at that point. You're fighting fire with Hellfire missiles. That's what you're doing. You've gotten it to this ridiculous level where you have fucking grenade launchers and whatnot that the cops are using. You have to de-escalate this situation. I mean, that should be thing number one that they teach. The first thing they should they teach to cops should be, this is how you de-escalate a situation. This is how you gather the facts and get the data of the situation so you understand it, and then this is how you de-escalate, and that's what the training should focus around. But at this point, it's no. If there's a senior citizen, send the armored truck with an army of people. If there's an argument over dog shit, send the armored vehicle with an army of people and kill the dog. This is why people are becoming more and more disillusioned with cops in America, because they're so incredibly militarized, and also the laws are unjust. I mean, let's face it. It's not related to this story, but in terms of the drug war, this is why there's a growing feeling of resentment towards the police, because we're locking people up for smoking weed and doing these things that are nonviolent crimes, putting substances in your body when you choose to put substances in your body. So you guys know my solution. You demilitarize the police, you end the drug war, and of course you give the police cameras, which prevents abuse. And to be clear, this is what the studies show. This isn't just my opinion that, hey, the cameras will work. No, there have been studies now that show that the incidence of police abuse of authority drop tremendously when you wear the cameras. So that's the solution, and we need to start going in that direction because this stuff is crazy.